I know, another WickedBinge Hazbin Hotel video, but come on, how could we not make a video chronicling the darkest moments of a series that literally takes place in hell? It practically writes itself. No offense to our scriptwriters. These are the darkest, most gruesome moments in Hazbin Hotel so far.
Let the slaughter begin.
We'll start things off with the more tame examples. These are the jokes that constitute dark humor rather than outright horror. These are the morbidly funny examples. Hashtag Sir Pentious 2. Rarely has there been a character with simultaneously so much and so little riz as Sir Pentious. Sure, his pre-sacrifice kiss with Cherry in the final battle was pretty badass, but in the episode Welcome to Heaven, we got a first-hand look at his usual flirting skills. After asking Cherry Bomb if she wants him to buy her a drink, he quickly plays it off like his plan was
buying everyone a drink.
So when he asks if she'd like to
do a sex with me,
let's just say that his method of playing it off was similar and he wasn't too pleased with the result. In defense of the random background characters who literally dragged him into the sex room, he did technically make the offer. But it's definitely weird that the show with an entire character dedicated to calling out sexual violence made a joke about it so quickly. To their credit, it was a funny joke, but hopefully they were just playing Mario Kart as a group or something. The grand finale. Sticking with Sir Pentious for a minute, can we talk about his death? Like, what the heck was that? There's something to be said for a series that's willing to kill off one of its main characters with so little fanfare, and while we'd probably have a hard time forgiving vivziepop for this if it was a final death, it's actually a really effective way to raise stakes for the final battle. You'd expect a major character's death, even a temporary one, to have a bit more pizzazz to it, but Sir Pentious just gets blinked out of existence, warship and all, by Adam.
Yeah, that could have been ugly.
It's not exactly disturbing or anything, especially since Sir Pentious does come back in heaven, but we can't deny that it felt weird seeing one of the most fleshed out characters seemingly killed off with basically no fanfare. An Angel Dust production. The episode Masquerade is by far the darkest one of the series so far. I know the whole series is a dark comedy, but this episode is to Hazbin Hotel what Dark Harvest is to Invader Zim. And this is an adult show, mind you, but I digress. All you need to know for now is that the episode straight up opens with Angel tied up, about to be seemingly assaulted by a much larger, stronger man. While it's revealed that this is just one of Angel's many porn videos he's made under Valentino's command, the initial thought of this being a real situation Angel could have been in was no doubt worrying, so we couldn't help but let out a little sigh of relief after the big reveal that it was just one of his videos he was sharing at Show and Tell.
It's, very honest.
See, everything works out. Good thing the rest of this episode won't be incredibly dark and emotionally devastating, right? Nifty. Alright, if there's one character who embodies the series' morbid sense of humor more than anyone else, it's gotta be Nifty. Basically, every scene she's in shows off her complete lack of sanity. In one scene, while Husk is psychoanalyzing the other people at the hotel, Nifty is the one person whose issues even he isn't comfortable talking about.
You don't even want to know what her deal is.
It's played as a joke, but think about it. This is from that same episode where Husk calls out Angel Dust's issues, the guy who's drug addicted, regularly assaulted by his employer, etc. The fact that he's okay talking about this, but not whatever's going on with Nifty, tells us that she has even worse to hide, and given how sincerely happy and playful she seems to be, we can only imagine Nifty is the one committing atrocities rather than suffering from them. Heck, even Alastor, who's definitely one of the series' more intelligent characters, mentions that he has no clue what goes on in Nifty's head. You have to wonder if him being pleasant around Nifty is really out of friendliness, or if he's found the one demon more terrifying and unpredictable than him.
Oh, to understand your twisted little mind.
But until that half-joking Nifty owns Alastor's soul theory is proven one way or another, we'll just have to trust Husk's word that some things are better left unseen. But that doesn't mean such things are left unseen. Let's move on to the more openly gruesome scenes. Alastor's origins. As told in both the pilot episode and the Mimsy episode in Season 1, Alastor's origin story makes him stand out among other overlords. Having appeared in Hell seemingly overnight, he made his mark by toppling high-ranking overlords behind the scenes, revealing himself as the radio demon via broadcasts of their screams.
This face was made for radio.
It might not be something happening in the current time of the series, but it definitely makes you wonder who Alastor is responsible for taking out, and more importantly, why he did it. Perhaps the darkest aspect of this is his rivalry with Vox, with him being one of those high-ranking overlords himself. He might want to tread lightly around his old-timey rival, especially given that Vox is one of the people who's most outwardly annoyed him. Charlie's first and almost last strike. With how sweet and caring Charlie is as a character, it's easy to forget how powerful she really is. She is the Princess of Hell after all, and has the powers of both a demon and an angel. The best of both worlds, if you will. Like Hannah Montana, but in Hell, we finally get to see her let some of that powerful potential out in her climactic fight with Adam, where she actually manages to get a strong hit in, drawing blood from one of the series' most powerful angels. This leads to Charlie nearly being killed via strangulation by Adam, which is a tough scene to watch, but also a scene that gave us way more respect for Lucifer when he saved her. The death of Adam. Look, Adam was a bad dude, like a really bad dude, but it still was kind of unsettling to see the first of mankind straight up killed, even if it was deserved. First, there was the brutal beatdown he got from Lucifer, who totally and reasonably lost his temper. Then, when he thought he got off easy, Nifty saved the day by straight up shanking him to death.
Holy sh!
And then you almost feel a little bit of pity as he smiles at Loot in his last moment, showing that he at least had a heart for somebody in the afterlife. It's a pretty brutal death scene, but it'd be harder to stomach if Adam were a less depraved character.
Hey, you got something sticking out of your thing there.
But it's still one that might make you turn away just a little bit. Vaggie's origins, losing the eye. For the final moment in this category, we have the long speculated origin story of Vaggie. Like many fans were speculating, it turns out that Vaggie was actually a fallen extermination angel. Emphasis on was. This is probably the most overtly gory moment in the show so far. When Vaggie can't bring herself to exterminate a small demon child, Loot gives her a stern talking to, explaining the importance of not deviating from Adam's plan, and psych, she just mutilates her. Seeing Vaggie's eye get ripped out and crushed right in front of her is bad enough, but Stephanie Beatrice's blood-curdling scream makes it even more disturbing. Yeah, this is Mirabel Madrigal, same voice actor. No, I'm not joking, look it up. And if the eyeball scene wasn't brutal enough, somehow, just tack on the fact that she had her halo and wings ripped off and was left abandoned in hell. We can barely imagine how painful this whole ordeal was for poor Vaggie, and it's probably the hardest scene to watch in terms of blatant violence. But now we delve into the darkest of the dark. These are the actual horror scenes, the moments that feel like they'd actually be more fitting in a full-on horror series. Alastor's fear of his deal. You know, one of the most underrated tropes is that of a usually happy-go-lucky character falling apart. It's not pleasant to watch or anything like that, quite the opposite in fact. When done well, it can add a much-needed layer of depth to a character and make them more interesting. A great example of this is Alastor's solo segment in The Show Must Go On, in which we see him have a sort of existential crisis about the fact that his own soul is on a leash, and that leash caused him to almost die for his friends as a hero. We're still betting that Alastor has some redeeming qualities, or at least some sympathetic ones, but realizing that his smile has always been forced and that there's someone pulling his strings is pretty unsettling, and it only makes his eventual freedom seem even more dangerous.
Not many people have been able to take even this much off me.
When your whole character is based around manipulation, intimidation, and working behind the scenes for mysterious goals, the scariest thing you can do is show your own fear. Alastor's intimidation of Husk. And hopefully Alastor isn't watching this video right now, because as we see in this scene where he intimidates Husk, he does not like to be reminded of his current situation. Like with Angel, Husk was able to see through Alastor's facade and perceive that he himself was also on a leash.
Big talk for someone who's also on a leash.
What did you say?
Commenting on this was enough for Husk to stoke the flames of Alastor's genuine rage, leading him to threaten to do the old tear him apart and broadcast their screams move that Alastor is known and loved and feared for. When you make a character as stoic as Husk shake in sheer terror, you know you've reached full-on horror villain territory. It makes you wonder just how much more Husk knows than he lets on. Cannibal Town. But psycho though he may be, Alastor does have a few real friends. Take Rosie, for example, the mayor of Cannibal Town. She's a surprisingly friendly and helpful person. Unlike many others, she doesn't seem scared nor unsettled by Alastor, more than willing to help Charlie gain some allies to fight against the Angels. That said, she is a cannibal. A pleasant one, sure, but a cannibal nonetheless. So too are the people in her town, shown by the fact that their main motivation for helping Charlie is the opportunity to eat angels. It's disturbing enough that there's a whole town full of cannibals, but then you start wondering where they get all their food, what they'll eat if they run out, and if they eat each other, and yeah, it's one of those concepts that just gets creepier the more you think about it. We definitely appreciate the consideration of the show to not show actual people eating, but it's still hard to stomach that there's a community that even hell itself is pretty creeped out by in-universe. Never mind, Cannibal Town was okay. Look, a lot of people enjoy medium rare beef and that sort of thing. We won't judge for that. Heck, we are that. But there's a difference between a slightly undercooked and delicious burger and a completely uncooked animal. Say what you will about Cannibal Town, but at least they seem to prepare their food. Like, even if it was just little fingers and shot glasses or something, there was at least a presentation there. But to Alastor, eating an entire deer fresh out of the forest is as normal as grabbing an afternoon snack. Good for him, taking some time to relax and treat himself.
Do you mind? I'm in the middle of breakfast.
I mean, it may be hell, but your schedule doesn't have to be, right? Oh, and you know what the worst part is? Alastor was apparently a cannibal during his earthly life, too, meaning that he tried both human flesh and freshly shot deer. You have to wonder why a cannibal is allowed access to a place called Cannibal Town in literal hell, but maybe that's a question for someone else. Angel Dust's abuse. Now, I'm willing to bet that everyone who watched the show knew exactly what was going to land at the top of this list. Angel Dust is by far the most controversial character in the show, but love him or hate him or somewhere in between him, you can't deny that the stuff this poor guy goes through is something you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. Angel, like Husk, has his soul signed out to a total psychopath, but his boss, Valentino, makes Alastor look like a totally pleasant employer in comparison. Val forces Angel to work long hours, getting taken advantage of by other actors in his movies, and worst of all, he sees Angel as his personal favorite. That means he routinely SAs Angel on set, and behind closed doors, the abuse is even more terrifying. It's also implied that Valentino forces Angel to work longer hours when he's annoyed with him, which has some pretty horrifying implications. We see this vile dynamic depicted best in the most uncomfortable scene in the show, where Valentino reminds Angel in a private room that he owns his soul, portraying Angel as a deeply frightened and helpless character.
Now, you're gonna go get rid of her, and then you're filming all night.
Gone completely is the upbeat, promiscuous egotist that he usually is. Here, you can tell that was all a facade to hide what poor Angel was going through on a daily basis. While his friendship with Husk, Charlie, and the others does help him to start standing up for himself, getting off drugs, and not straight up letting people roofie and assault him, it's always hard to stomach what he goes through and how genuinely helpless it makes him feel. At least he's got fat nuggets, though. Google, what the hell do you mean Valentino gave him fat nuggets?